Brad traveled from his home in New York to Chamonix. He left his house at 4:30 and traveled by taxi to the airport in New York. His journey took 55 minutes and had an average speed of 18 kilometers per hour.
He then traveled by plane to Geneva, departing from New York at 10:15 p.m. The flight path can be taken as an arc of a circle with the radius 6,400 kilometers, with a sector angle of 55 degrees. The local time in Geneva is 6 hours ahead of the local time in New York. Brad arrived in Geneva at 11:25 the next day.
To complete his journey, Brad traveled by bus from Geneva to Chamonix. His journey started at 1 p.m. and it took an hour and 36 minutes. The average speed was 66 kilometers per hour. The local time in Chamonix is the same as the local time in Geneva.
Okay, so he left his house at 4:30 New York time and he arrived in Chamonix at 8:36 New York time. So instead of making it complicated, we just changed everything to New York time by making the Chamonix time 6 hours ahead. So the reason why we got 8:36 is because he started his journey from Geneva to Chamonix at 1 and it took him 1 hour and 36 minutes. So you add this to 1 to get to 36. So then the only problem is the 6 minutes, we have to turn it to hours. So what we do is we do 6 divided by 60 because this is 60 minutes and an hour has 60 minutes, which equals to 0.1. So then now we just add 16 to 0.1, which is 16.1. So now we have to calculate the average speed. So the average speed equals total distance divided by total time. So as we just calculated, we found out that the total distance is 6319.9, and we just found the total time, which is 16.1, which the total equals to, we're going to write it right up here, 392.54 kilometers per hour. So just to recap, the average speed formula is total distance divided by total time.
So you plug this into the equation. You do this, you put 18 times 0.916.
Why do you put 18?
18 because it was 18, his average speed was 18 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
And that equals 16.5 kilometers. So that's how you find the distance in part 1.
Okay, so in part 2, you're actually calculating the circumference of a sector. You do this by, first of all, finding the diameter, which is 6,400 times 2. So we're doing this because a circle has a full diameter, and when you cut it in half, you get the radius. So because we want the diameter, we have to times it by 2, which is 12,800. Then, to find the sector, we're going to have to use this formula here, which is the circumference equals pi d, and then it's x over 360. So because we already have the distance, which is 12,800, as I mentioned, you times it by 2 to find the whole diameter, and then we have to times this by 55.5 by 360.
You times it by 55.5 because that is the angle of the sector.
Yes, which is x in this case, we're trying to find. And then this will equal to 6199.4 kilometers. So then this is the second distance.
To calculate the distance in part 3, you need to convert 1 hour and 36 minutes into hours, and you do this by putting 36 over 60 because there's 60 minutes an hour. This equals 0.6, and then you have the hour from before, so that's 1.6.
We're adding 1 because it's 1 hour.
And then the speed in this was 65 kilometers per hour. And then you just put this into this formula, which is distance equals speed times time. And so that's 65 times 1.6, which equals 104. To calculate the total distance.
Kilometers.
Yeah. you add the distance from all the other parts, part 1, part 2, and 3, and that equals this.
For you to find these distances, just go back on the video and you see how we found each one.